Today, even the word Gucci is synonymous with luxury. The fashion brand has become not only one of the largest and most prominent companies on the planet, but it also changed the world of fashion forever. While many people have heard of the illustrious brand, not many know that it was actually started by a hotel clerk in Italy in the 1920s. And his story is not only full of surprises, but it's also extremely important in understanding how Gucci has made its mark on the fashion industry. Born on March 26, 1881, in Florence, Italy, Guccio Gucci was the son of modest Italian merchants who made their money making and selling straw hats. And while it was always in Guccio's future to take over the family business, by the time he was 17 years old, they had gone bankrupt, and the young Italian needed to find another way to make money. So Guccio decided to immigrate to England, and when he landed in London, he immediately started looking for work. Luckily, he got a position at the luxurious Hotel Savoy as a dishwasher. Guccio did well and was seen as an exemplary employee. He was soon promoted to waiter and eventually became a bellhop and then an elevator attendant. It's important to note that being moved to the front of house staff within the hotel was considered quite the accomplishment, and even being an elevator attendant was a high honor, as the hotel was the first to have an electric elevator, and working it was a complicated and important job. During this time, Guccio started noticing the high-class and wealthy guests of the hotel, and he realized that the elite prided themselves on using luggage that was not only functional, but also incredibly well-made and beautiful. Guccio realized that wealthy people didn't just purchase bags and clothing to be used and worn, but wanted their products to be symbols of status for all who would see them. After a few years of saving his income from the Savoy, Guccio returned to Florence and got a job at an antique store. His life was going well. In fact, he even got married and had his first child. But everything changed in 1914 when the First World War arrived, and Guccio had to leave Italy once again, this time to fight alongside his compatriots in the army. When the war ended, Guccio returned home to his family in Florence and started working at a leather manufacturing plant. Just as at the Savoy, Guccio impressed his boss at the leather shop, and he was promoted quickly to the manager of their new store in Rome. So once again, Guccio packed his bags and left home in the hopes of making a career for himself. But his wife, Ada, wanted to stay in Florence, so Guccio had to travel back and forth between the cities in order to see his family. In 1921, everything changed for the Gucci family when Guccio and Ada saw a shop for rent in downtown Florence. It seemed that Gucci's dream of opening his own shop could finally become a reality. Guccio took out a loan and used all of his savings to open his first shop, Valigeria Guccio Gucci. Gucci used his knowledge of leather making, as well as everything he learned about what wealthy travelers wanted at the Savoy, and started making leather luggage and handbags. At first, he used suppliers from all over Europe, but as he was often disappointed with their products, he decided the best course of action would be to make his own. This choice was risky, but certainly one of the best Gucci ever made. His leather and products were of the highest quality and quickly became popular among Florence's elite. However, because he was using expensive materials, it proved challenging to make any money, and Gucci's business, though outwardly successful, was struggling financially. Luckily, Gucci took out another loan from his future son-in-law and was able to keep the business afloat. With the money, Gucci hired a team of employees. This proved to be the turning point for the young businessman, as he no longer had to make everything himself and could actually supervise and ensure each and every product was well made and worthy of the high price tag. Throughout the 1930s, his company's success grew, and Gucci became one of the biggest names in Italian leather and luggage. It was then that Gucci decided to branch out and start making a variety of products for its clients, including gloves, shoes, and belts. But everything changed once again for the company when Guccio's son, Aldo, had an idea. Gucci should be available all over Italy instead of just in Florence. Branching out into international sales was once again a risk for the small company, but it proved to be a life-changing choice for the Gucci family. Aldo's idea turned out to be one of the best things to ever happen to Gucci. And with 2 new stores in Rome and Milan by the 1950s, it seemed that the company was becoming much more than a small family-owned shop. While it wasn't an empire quite yet, it was certainly on its way. During these years, Gucci still wasn't making as much money as Guccio had hoped it would. The family was constantly taking out loans in order to fund their expensive products and expansion around the country. However, Guccio's 3 sons were just as ambitious as their father and decided that in order to make the company an empire, they needed to get their products to the USA. So they headed to New York to find a space for a new store. Guccio thought the idea was crazy, but the young Guccis were relentless. When the store opened in New York, it was one of the first Italian stores to do so, and it was considered extremely exclusive. Their reputation for making the highest quality products from Italian materials preceded it, and Gucci was almost immediately considered one of the best possible stores for elite New York shoppers. And a huge influx of customers appeared when celebrities and royals such as Queen Elizabeth II and Jackie Kennedy started purchasing and wearing Gucci products. But just as Guccio was starting to see his dream come alive, he died of a heart attack on January 2, 1953 at the age of 71. It was, of course, completely devastating to the Gucci family. And while they were certainly grieving the loss of their patriarch, everyone realized that the company was at the precipice of something huge and needed immediate leadership in order to stay on track. Guccio's 3 sons, Aldo, Rodolfo, and Vasco, inherited equal shares of the soon-to-be empire and got to work right away. Each of the sons had a job to do. Aldo focused on the New York store and American expansion. Rodolfo stayed in Milan, and Vasco's job was to run the original factory in Florence. Fortunately, the boys did their jobs well, and the company continued to grow throughout the 1960s. Although they were still making handbags and luggage as Guccio had originally planned for, their accessories line, and especially their shoes, were becoming the hot-ticket items. At the time, high heels were extremely popular among American and European women. However, when several wealthy and famous women started wearing Gucci loafers instead, they started flying off the shelves in ways Gucci never could have imagined. The comfort and style that the shoes provided made them a must-have for the wealthy men and women of the world. And with the influx of customers, Gucci was finally making an incredible amount of money. Over the next few years, the Gucci brothers expanded and opened up stores around the world. These stores sold their original products, such as the famous loafers and bags, but they also started making watches, clothes, and even fragrances. By the end of the decade, it was official. Gucci was the biggest name in luxury clothes and accessories. Everyone who was anyone was shopping at Gucci. Just as Gucci had noticed at the Savoy in the 1910s, wealthy people around the world wanted to own and wear items that provided status as well as function. And that's exactly what Gucci products were. Over the next few decades, the Gucci family experienced a plethora of issues. When Vasco died, his shares were allocated to his widow, but the other 2 brothers bought her out almost immediately. When their sons got involved, everything got even more complicated. One of the sons illegally opened a shop with the family name. One of the sons outed his father for tax evasion, and Aldo was eventually removed from the Gucci brand altogether. Maurizio, Rodolfo's son, was refused a stake in the company and began fighting for power over the now multi-million-dollar brand. In 1989, he convinced Investcorp to back his claim to the company and used their funds to purchase Gucci from his cousins and father. However, it seemed that Maurizio's ambition to own the company was ill-planned, as he had no idea how to actually run it. In the early 1990s, Gucci was floundering. The company, which had become a worldwide sensation and incredible success, almost went under with Maurizio in charge. In fact, Investcorp decided that the only way to save their huge investment in the brand was to get rid of him, which is exactly what they did. Only 2 years later, Maurizio's wife hired a hitman to murder him, and from then on, Gucci was no longer in the hands of the Gucci family. Tom Ford was hired by Investcorp to take over as creative director and head of the brand, and he changed everything. By the end of the 1990s, Gucci was back on top. The fashion world was completely obsessed with the looks Tom had created, and celebrities and models were once again filling their closets with their expensive and luxurious products. Gucci continued to grow throughout the decades, and today the company is worth an incredible $18 billion. Its products are now completely synonymous with the word luxury, and Gucci is considered one of, if not the most, impressive brands on the planet. While every business will always have ups and downs, it doesn't seem like Gucci is going anywhere anytime soon. Gucci is one of the largest businesses on the planet, and even the next generation is obsessed with their clothing, fragrances, bags, and shoes. To think that a dishwasher and elevator attendant from Florence created this empire with sheer will and determination is almost unbelievable, but that is exactly what happened. Hungry for another fascinating business story? Click on the following video to hear the crazy story about the man who was kicked out of his home and invented sriracha.